Creep up, aim, I'm bussin'. Bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it.
Alrighty guys, what's going on? It's Mitch, and this is a different sort of video. We are in a computer screen at the moment. As you can see, I'm sitting here at my desk, microphone, headset, bit of a different sort of video because we still don't have the car back. So I still wanted to make a bit of content. So I thought, why not make a little video reacting to my top 5 favorite memories or experiences in a 4-wheel drive or based around a 4-wheel drive. I just thought it would be a good way to sort of continue up with the 4-wheel drive sort of content without actually having my car here. Without further ado, I have 5 videos lined up with 2 extra little bad boys there for honorable mentions. So we just get stuck right into it. Got to go to number 5, which is, there it is, bogged badly and breaking in the winch. That's the one. Right, so I don't remember when this was. I re-uploaded this. When did I upload it? I re-uploaded it around July last year. That's not when I filmed it. I filmed it maybe 2019. I re-uploaded it just because I had like a reset of my my channel. I was out with Reese and Nat, and this is when Reese had his blue Navara. And so yeah, this was his first sort of time out in the dirt. So that's sort of a bit of the context for the video. So we decided to just go out. And this was the first time I'd ever used the winch. So I just installed it and I wanted to use it. So if we skip along to, well, I mean, this whole day was great. I remember I was trying to do this hill, tried to talk Reese into doing it, but he didn't want to do it. And I don't know how, but you tell me how I didn't break a CV or something. Hang on, ready? Watch these bumps. Look at that thing bounce, dude. It's Pogo stick. Anyway, the main part of the video was this bog hole. It was really deep, and obviously I wanted to test out the winch. Like I knew I was going to get stuck. Going all right, and then just lost all of the traction. You can see the big pile of mud. It was trying to push up the front. It was just not going anywhere. Luckily I did have it all unspooled, so it was easy to go. But being the first time, well, actually no, this is funny. The boys were laughing at the time. I didn't know why. I thought they were just laughing because we were stuck. And you can see Nat there. He didn't know how to say it, but water was actually coming in through my speakers. It's filling up pretty quick. But I don't think they said anything too alarmingly, just, you know, to make sure that I stayed okay. But I knew it would fill up with water anyway. I don't have good door seals at all. But anyway, yeah, I had to get back into the car. I hopped back in the car, started trying to pull the winch in, and nothing was happening. Realized, oh, I left the clutch out on the winch. So I had to climb out again while it was still filling up with water. Engage the winch, and then we were in for business. So it was good. It was definitely a good way to break in the winch. I'll tell you what. That was a good day though. Yeah. So that's number 5. Obviously you can see my car's changed a fair bit by then too. That kind of just shows how long ago this was. And then number 4, what have we got? I can't even remember what I written down. Oh, of course. This one was a banger. So this is from last year's Fraser trip. If I can find the video. It was Reese's run through Ngala Rocks. Okay, so a bit of context. This is our 7th day on the island. As you can see, part 7 here. If you want to check it out in the link below. The whole trip, you know, we were sort of thinking, Ngala Rocks, you know, it's known for being boggy and soft sand. And the whole time Reese was saying, I'm not going to get stuck. And we were like, oh, it'll be really funny if it gets stuck. Anyway, we rock up there in the morning. We find like 4 other cars or 3 other cars in front of us that are stuck. We spent a bit of time helping them get out. And then it was our time to go up. And as we were rolling in, here it is right here. This is where I start to go. So you can see Reese, he's taking off there and he's doing it. Yeah, and I start going and I get a caller from Reese and I was like, okay, that'd be right. Anyway, it's these guys stuck around the corner. Funnily enough, it's actually Clayton's towing service too. A lot of, he had a Netflix show about recovering people, but no, this guy was a champ. I think it was, he knew what he was doing on the beach. I think it was just unfortunate this Toyota got stuck. This was a cool experience actually, helping him get out. This guy in his Hilux, I mean, I don't know. So we pushed him out and then it was time to get Clayton's out. And you can see down there, I'll give him a bit of a push. Momentum is pretty much everything that you need. Like, so you can see, I don't even know who this old guy is, but we're all chucking mash tracks under his front wheels and he starts getting traction and we just start putting the tracks, like feeding them to the car as it moves, which is, I've seen it done a few times, but I think it worked really well in this scenario. I don't actually know if I was doing anything by pushing, but Brayton comes running in. He takes over the push, go up and grab some more match tracks and chuck them in underneath. That was a cool experience to be part of that. But yeah, got him out in a jiffy just like that. But after he was gone, it was Reese's turn. As you can see here, because he had to stop, he couldn't have the momentum to get going again. Thought the old max tracks will do a thing, but he got on him, but he wouldn't even make it to the next wheel. Like, he couldn't get a car distance. Anyway, then this patrol came out of nowhere and pulled him out. This thing was huge. She yanked him right out of there. With Reese back at the beginning, he kind of knew how soft it was, and he was up for redemption. He needed to redeem himself, and that he did. I remember we were telling him just to bounce it on limiter. I don't think he hit limiter, but he must have been close. Nothing will ever beat seeing this. Something about seeing 2 tons of steel bouncing through the sand, going faster than it should, is just, it's a spectacle, I tell you. You can tell he's flogging it. Far out. I think I'll never not smile while watching this video. I think that's the craziest thing. Like, you can just see it trying to find its path through the way. And then he starts turning the corner and it flings up all the sand. What a man. I don't think I have seen a crazier drive on Ngala Rocks. But I think because I was there in person, it made it better. But next video, number 3. This is, I think, one of the first videos that I made the switch to SOS TV. I just wanted to get out there. Yeah, I think I just wanted to get out there one afternoon. My main idea was I was going to find some hill somewhere and try and film the difference between 31-inch tires and 33-inch tires on the same hill. This was a good day. I remember I was feeling confident, which is how every bad situation starts. This is the Red's bypass. This is, so over here somewhere is Big Red and Little Red. And then this is just as challenging, but I needed to get up it by myself, and not only by myself, without a locker and without a spotter. So you can see with these 31-inch tires, I have minimal clearance. Don't get me wrong, 31s are great for on the road, you know, fuel efficiency and speed and all that, but off-road, you just don't have the clearance that you need. 4-wheel drives are capable, right? You know, but when the diffs are unlocked, they only go so far. And I think I was caught off guard with how incapable an unlocked car is in these exact places. Before I was doing these sort of videos, I was ever only in the mud, you know, for half of a day or on the beach. I was never really doing these technical sort of climbs. And so I knew a locker was important, but I had no clue of how important they were. And this video is actually exactly a perfect demonstration of some of the situations you can find yourself in if you're underprepared. So as you can see here, I sort of have to hop out of the car and find a line before I get back in the car because I don't have a way to see, and you can see the bouncing there. I started to realize the limits of an unlocked vehicle here, and I think the adrenaline was running and I was a bit scared that I was not going to be able to get out, and so I was sort of pushing the car a bit more than I probably should have. So you had to break the winch out, and thankfully there was a tree there, but it wasn't that great of a position because it could only pull me towards what you can't see here is on this side, on the driver's side of the whole thing, it just drops down into a big hill, and that tree was only pulling me into that. This video suffers from they call it the GoPro effect. I don't know if that's an actual name, but it's where like anything shot on a GoPro like makes everything smaller. Like all hills seem like more level. Everything just changes and it doesn't look as bad as it is. But when I lurched forward when the tires caught grip, I thought that was probably the first ever time that I thought that I could go over, because I mean, you can't see it on this angle here, but the winch is actually pulling me into the tree as well. So it's going to want to roll the car. But I managed to find another tree to go to after a bit of bouncing. Yeah, I was really reluctant to upload this video because I realized the mistake I'd made. I didn't know what was there. I was just exploring, but the situation I got myself in was I was in under my head. So I'd winched forward enough to where I could get a bit of a purchase on the place. So I was pulling out the winch rope here. You can already see the lean that my car's on. You know, that's probably a solid big lean. I've got to turn into the bank, which is what I'm doing here. But my rear tire couldn't climb up. There's a big rock here that you can't see. So I had to go around it, which is why I'm on the angle that I am. Here I was pulling out the winch rope because I needed to drive forward. I tell you, when I first watched this video back, I was astounded that nothing happened. Like, the car's driving what I feel like was the balance point. It probably wasn't because it's just exaggeration in the video, but you'll see what I mean. Like, it lifts up and it sort of tips and then it catches on the rear wheel. I don't know. Yeah, I just remember looking at that after filming it and being like, wow, that was like, I got lucky that day. I saw this thing one time and it was like a chart of confidence and risk. A risk is like, let's just say risk is the point where safety, risk, and then something bad will happen would be after the point of risk. And so my confidence was creeping up because nothing had really happened off-road. And so my confidence met with the risk and I was met with that bad situation. And luckily I was able to get out of it okay. I feel like it's those moments that sort of set your confidence back, but keeps you safe. I guess that's a human thing, but unfortunately, I don't think I feel like not many people have the hindsight to notice when they need to stop, especially if you're in the heat of the moment and things. But anyway, that moves us on to number 2. I can't believe we watched 3 already. All right, so number 2. Now this one was a good one. This one was an interesting day/night. Some of you may have seen this already. This is when me and Silas, we decided to go out. I just finished my locker, like I've just fitted it that night before. We go back down the hill that I went down the other day. This is it here. Gee, she's a steep thing, hey? You wanna go outside, Maple? Hey? That's better. It was this hill right here that made everything go wrong. And I just got the locker and I was like, you know what? I'll give this a go. And so I was giving it a go. Managed to boot it up through this somehow. I don't know how, but it was his go. And he didn't have a front locker. You can see him sort of bouncing here. So he decided to give it a few more goes and he was getting sort of close by like bouncing it with the clutch, and he decided to try it in second gear. If he could get the rear up, we thought he'd have a pretty good chance of doing it. So I'll just let you watch this and listen. So you could hear it there. At first we thought it was either a drive shaft or a CV, or even a hub, but we quickly found out that it wasn't. It actually turned out to be his front diff. So this was his front diff. So there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 6.5 teeth just shorn from this gear. We had it down on the flat ground and as he was driving, there was a certain point where there was a few clunks. So we thought it must have been the gear in the ring gear and the diff, but to make matters worse, it started raining. And it was raining. We started to winch him forward up onto the hill. So we decided to anchor my car to a tree and then he could release his winch and let himself down slowly, which is what he did here. And it worked out relatively well, but you can see here just how slippery it is. Like, this is flat ground. I'm just spinning the wheels trying to reverse even. And he was able to just slowly dip down. When it came to my go, that was definitely a bit harder because it was wet. As you can see, the rain sort of subsided here, but there was no winch point for me to hook onto because he was hooked onto me and I was hooked onto a tree further down, but the only tree was past a hump. You know, nothing, all of these other ones are just way too small. Decided that I would just sort of use the brakes as best as I could, even though there were pretty much no brakes because it was that wet. But you'll see here that I sort of just, like, my foot, everything's locked and I just sort of fall into the gap. Luckily, I don't think even my scrubbies touched. We couldn't go back up the way we came down because of the rain. So now we have to redo the track that I did in the previous video, and it gets dark real quick. And so you can see here that we're doing this all night. And his winch breaks. Dude, this video was insane. So yeah, you can see me sort of trying to find my way through here at night. Luckily I had Silas there, so he was able to spot me a little bit too, so that's good. You can see we had the winch rope, and then there was about 2 or 3 tow ropes. I think there was 2 tow ropes reaching out to this tree into the darkness, because that was the only the only straight recovery point that we could get to. Yeah, you can see it all the way over there. But if I just back it up a little, I went up through this right-hand side, and I had a really tough time doing that, and I had four-wheel drive. So we decided to try and take him up through this right, left, don't worry about me. We decided to try and take him up through this left-hand side, which was a lot steeper, and there was a big rut in the middle, but it was fairly flat. So, yeah, so what I did is I got my car at the top, I did a quick, 10-point turn on the thin track, and then parked up the front. But it was definitely a long night. I had to stop every couple of seconds to let the winch cool down, but it was definitely a night to remember. And that's why it's number 2 on the list. But before we reach number 1, there's a few honorable mentions, of course, like every countdown. The first one being, a lot of you would have seen this video. This is when I was at Glasshouse with Luke and his workmates. This is Jack and his patrol. An absolute beastly one. 35's twin locked. It is nice. And yeah, everyone that looks up 4-wheel drive Glasshouse will see these ruts. These are like the first ruts that everyone's like, I did the ruts, Between everyone telling him what to do, mind you, there was like 5 of us, all telling him different things. You can see, I'll just stop it before it goes, but you can see that his rear tire fell into the rut, and he wasn't climbing out straight away. He was sort of riding the rut a little bit. I had a little aneurysm then. And so of course that's going to lead to a wheel lift, but this is a wheel lift. You think of like a patrol on 35s, and then look at this, and it was big. Like I think that's probably the biggest wheel lift I think I've ever seen. Like, you don't even see that on many videos before they roll. I think purely it's this bank here that stopped him from going over. It was insane. And that was that. That was a pretty good day. I really enjoyed that day. And then, second honorable mention before number 1 is this boy right here. So this was a good day too, actually. I was out with Luke and his mate Scott. You need to check that video out. But we then had to cross this rut. Luke and Scott both went around this tree area. I'll show you. So you can see my car here. That's a little teaser. But if you look at Scott's car here, he's going around this and coming up where we're standing now. And that's what Luke did as well. And while Scott was doing that, I was going to climb up just here, right beside. I was going to have my passenger tire in this sort of rut here. I started driving and I remember feeling it. And this passenger wheel slipped and it slipped down. And I was able to turn into the rut and climb it. And so now I'm in this position. And we decided to quickly go ahead and get Scott through here because we wanted to get him out before we worried about me. And he just crawls this, makes it look easy. It must be the traction control on this bad girl. It just crawls its way through. Now we've got to work on my car, and that's... Oh. It's another... Your luck runs out in some places, doesn't it? But I remember I was in this situation and I had 2 options that I could have done. I could have winched to someone or something and just pull me straight. Or I could try and drive it. And I tried to drive it. My main thought was to drive across and then continue out this side. But for some reason I started turning back into the rut. I'm not sure why. I don't know whether I thought maybe my rear would climb and it would try to tip me the other way. See here, I crossed it pretty well. You can see that max track under there just get squashed. Huge wheel lift. But for some reason, I start turning back the other way. This is where I decided, why don't I just try to drive straight through it? And I reckon that would have worked. My rear would have just fallen in and climbed back up. But for some reason, I started slipping and turning back in. And that's where it all goes wrong. Oh, and I had the locker in. So I thought maybe I could crawl through this. I've got scrub bars for a reason. But unfortunately, I should have winched. Because putting that stress on the vehicle, like on the CVs and stuff, wasn't good, and on the diff especially. Because as soon as you lock the wheels, like the amount of pressure that goes through your diff is through the roof. So let me unmute this, and you can hear the crunch and then the brake. Oh, you can hear it. At first I thought those like the cracking or the crunching was my CV, but actually that was my diff, which is not good. And then you can if you watch the tire that's in the rut, you can see it let go and it just sort of gives up. And that's the CV gone. Luckily, Scott was able to reverse back and he pulled me back. But yeah, that was another silly situation that I found myself in. Number one favorite time, and that would be the time that I completed Little Red. But it wasn't only Little Red that makes it the best. It was getting out of Little. If you're around the area, then you know that Little Red and Big Red have a reputation for being hard and difficult. So I was stoked to give this a go with 31-inch tires and a front locker. So the spirits were high. I found Little Red. You can see here for sheer scale, that's me next to the beginning of it. That's one lip that we have to climb. Definitely did better than I thought it would with the 31s, but again, GoPro effect, it loses all steepness, but you can see there, Luxy starts coming up. You can see the scale of it in that shot. Anyway, I got up near the top. As you can see, I sort of get bellied out here. I think that's where the 33s would have helped me out a lot. This motorbike rider comes down and he's just like, do you need a hand? I was like, oh yeah. And so he gave me a bit of a spot. And I was able to winch to a tree. Here he is helping me out. I winched to a tree and I was able to get the car out pretty easy. That's not the only thing that makes it a good memory experience. The best part was getting out. To get out of Little Red, there was these ruts that you have to cross. I didn't want to go back up Mud Dog Hill, which is the way my car's facing. I wanted to turn to the left and then go up the exit so that it puts me straight back on a road. But in order to get to that exit, I needed to cross these ruts, which are, funnily enough, carved out by what seems like 37-inch tires. These things, look at them. I could go up here or I could cross along here and go up there. And there was just so many different things to do. I was overwhelmed by the choices, but I decided to cross and pick the smaller one. You can see that, again, it doesn't show the angle, but that lean there, the car sort of pivots on that crux. And down this way is Little Red. So if things would have gone wrong, I would have just rolled straight down. I was able to then find myself in these ruts. And that's where the 31s just weren't enough. So I had to break out the winch a couple times. At this point, the adrenaline was running still. So, I wasn't thinking super clear, which is a lot of downfalls happen that way. And I managed to turn and find some traction there. But because I hadn't hopped out and winched in a little while during that little climb, I hadn't seen what's ahead. For some reason, I just had a blank, not knowing that there's probably a rut on the other side, which there was. So blindly, I was driving forward and the front passenger side, the front driver's side crossed over the rut, climbed the wall, but then the rear tire fell in and the whole car just tipped. And the weight got pretty unloaded on the driver's side. You can watch it here. If you just watch like the horizon level, it just tipped. Like you can see I tried to turn just before it went. Just here, I was obviously trying to climb the wall, and I did. And then the rear tires went into the rut, that meant, and then down she goes. This was different. I was prepared. Like I remember holding on and being like, do I hold on? Do I brace? Like, what do I do? I don't know what brought the car back down. But then I go ahead and have a look, and then I think it was my rear scrubs that stopped me from going over, because you could see it bounce on them. I'll show it in the video, but I stopped and I decided to get out and get a video angle of it, because what else would you do? I hopped out just to assess the situation, and as you can see there, hands on the head, pretty shocked. I think this is one of those moments again where the risk, my confidence met the risk, and then something like this happens. But I do think that stuff like this needs to happen in order for you to stay safe. Otherwise, your confidence will just go past the risk and something bad will happen, like something worse will happen. But I remember the situation I was in, it was so tight, I couldn't steer the turn, so I had to give it a bit of boot just so I could at least turn the wheel. And so I gave it a go. I was just like, in my head, I was like, this can go one of two ways. Like I can turn into it, give it some, and climb out of the rut, or give it some. And I was worried that the rear would push the front to the side and it would sort of follow the rut and then tip me over. And I wanted to get it. I just wanted to drive it out and give it a go. There was no, I should also say there was no winch point. Otherwise I would have winched, 100% would have winched. But every winch point around me was to the side, which is always how it is when you're in a situation like this. But as you can see here, I gave it a go, and that was the point that I thought I was going over. You can see the car, you can see the driver's side lift. Both wheels were off the ground at one point for a second. Had the wheels straight and just drove, and you can see the rear grab traction and then level me back out again, thankfully. Right here, this is where I'm pretty sure that's what held me up. Yeah, you can see the line of it actually right there. That line right there, that's that rear section on that side. And then I kept getting stuck on the way out because I had the 31s again. Again, you live and you learn with stuff like this. I personally love testing and like pushing the limits of like me and my car, but there is times where you just have to be more safe, more careful. I think going out and wheeling like this alone is okay. A lot of people tell me that I'm crazy for doing it, especially with this video. People have said that, but I think as long as you have the right equipment, or a plan, I guess a plan, like, cause I had people knew where I was and where I was meant to be. Luckily, everything went okay. Situations like this sort of put it into perspective for me, at least. I'd say if you've ever had a situation like this, it would for you too. That one video, I think that was probably the best memory I've ever had in my car, purely because it was such an experience. Anyway, guys, that does it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Sorry again for it being like a different style of video, that being we're just sitting down at a computer and watching stuff. I just know that a lot of people have come along since these videos were shot, and didn't know that this was the sort of stuff I did before I lost my front diff, which is 5 months ago. So yeah, there's obviously been a lot of building since then. The car's changed a lot, but this Sunday, in 6 days, we get the car back with a front diff. Not only a front diff, but a solid axle. So it's gonna be a lot more practical videos. You know, got to finish the canopy up, got to put the rooftop tent on that, and we got to mount the rear wheel, and build the whole inside of it too. Just stay tuned for next week, it'll be sick. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like and leave a comment down below for your chance to have your name put on my car, on the canopy. That'd be pretty sweet. And I'll see you guys next time.